Hello, everyone, and welcome to the RealClearPolitics Takeaway for Tuesday, January 5th, 2021. I am Tom Bevan, co-founder and president of RealClearPolitics.
And I'm Carl Cannon, Washington Bureau Chief for RCP.
Happy New Year, Carl.
You too, buddy. Election Day 2.0.
It is indeed. Let's talk about these Georgia races. We had a poll come out this morning. That final poll in this race showed 49-49 for both races. In our RealClearPolitics averages, we have the Democrats with slight leads. John Ossoff's about 1.0, Warnock's at 1.3. But basically, these are 50-50 toss-up races. And obviously, both parties are throwing everything into it. Trump was there last night. Biden was there yesterday as well. Kamala Harris, Mike Pence, everybody's been down there. What do you think is going to happen today, Carl?
Well, Tom, if 2021 is anything like 2020, there's only one obvious result, which
we
is
don't know the answer.
No, it's just that the results will be split. One of these Democrats will win, the other will lose. The Senate will be 50-50. I mean, come on, right?
I don't see that as likely. I've repeatedly said I think this is a package deal. I just don't think Democrats are going to show up to vote and vote for one and not the other, and vice versa. I mean, theoretically, it's possible. It just doesn't seem like the most likely outcome. It seems like, one side's going to have better turnout and will pull both their candidates over the finish line.
Well, this has certainly been a nationalized election. And, with all respect to Tip O'Neill, who I remember and covered briefly, all politics is national now. And I take your point. I would like to interview the people who would split their tickets. But, there's enough contrarians and misanthropes, and not to mention libertarians out there that might just, and there might also be Georgia voters who actually know these candidates. And, maybe they don't like, they like one of the incumbent senators better than the other. I wouldn't rule it out, Tom. We've seen stranger things in the past year.
I'm not ruling it out. I just think it's the less likely scenario.
What do you make of what Donald Trump's been doing? President Trump, he's still president, has been doing regarding the Georgia race. It seems to me everything he's done has probably hurt the Republicans, but the polls haven't moved.
Our very own Susan Crabtree wrote about that earlier this week on our site, saying this is going to test the proposition. Everyone's been saying Trump's hurting the Republican chances by saying, look, what happened on November 3rd was fraudulent and illegal. And oh, by the way, please turn out and vote for these candidates tomorrow because everything's at stake. And if a few thousand Republicans in Georgia decide, what, I agree with Trump, it was fraudulent, it's going to be fraudulent again, I'm just not going to bother, that could make the difference because these races are that tight. I don't know about that. It seems like both sides are pretty fired up. We will obviously have to wait and see. But certainly if the Republicans lose by a whisker, I think Donald Trump is going to end up taking the blame for that, for sending those mixed messages to Georgia voters and to his supporters. So
I'm not sure the president really wants the Republicans to win, Tom. If he's saying Georgia was stolen from him, that they can't run a fair election. He got on the phone with an infamous phone call and kept demanding, I need 11,000 more votes. Well, if these two Republicans won by, let's say 11,000 votes, then people might sit back, even some Donald Trump supporters, and say, well, okay, it wasn't fraud. It was the president, and he was an incumbent, and the economy was tough, and he hadn't handled coronavirus well, and this actually was a logical election. I don't think President Trump wanted people to come to that conclusion. I think subconsciously, at least, he wants these people to lose so he can go ahead and keep saying that the Democrats are stealing elections.
Well, we'll see. Let's quickly talk about what's going to happen tomorrow, Carl, which is this challenge of the Electoral College certification. We've got a bunch of Republican senators, 10, 12 now, I think, over 100 House members. But you've certainly got folks like Tom Cotton, Mike Lee, and others who are saying they're not going to be involved in this at all. They think it's over the line. Meanwhile, you've got Josh Hawley sort of leading the charge in the Senate. What do you make of this? Is this an attempted coup, a chance to steal the election, or because that's how it's being portrayed by certain members of the media, or is this merely is it a PR stunt? What's going on here, Carl? What can we expect from the what's going to take place tomorrow in Washington?
Well, it's not an attempted coup, but it's one more step along the road to debasing American institutions. It's unhealthy. I think it's ultimately dangerous if we continue down this path. The losing party has to accept the outcome of elections, or we don't have a working democracy anymore. And you know, if I'm a Republican in the Senate, and I look in the mirror and I ask myself, okay, if Tom Cotton and Mike Lee, if I don't find them sufficiently conservative, then what exactly, how am I defining that term? And so I think that though I think most of these, look, the overwhelming number of Republican senators will acknowledge the norms and vote, and see the electoral college. But it's troubling that if it was just one or two people, you'd say that they were eccentrics. That Barbara Boxer did that, and when
I was
she
just going to
was,
say, is there any,
but
Barbara
she was one
Boxer
person.
challenged the '04 Ohio results. We had, the push for, Democrats bullying basically faithless electors in 2016. We saw what happened in 2016. Is there any question in your mind that if Joe Biden had lost for these four states, if the results were reversed, the Democrats wouldn't be doing the exact same thing in the United States Senate right now?
Well, I don't know the exact same thing, but we know that at least, yeah, recent precedent suggests that at least one Democrat, maybe more, would be doing this. Doesn't make it right. Um, this has been the overweening theme of the Trump presidency, which is that the people who despise him most emulate him the most. And now the Trump side is doing that. They're justifying all this because the Democrats didn't accept the results of the 2016 election. I pointed this out many times myself, and they're right. But that doesn't make them right to do it again. It makes them doubly wrong, and it makes them actually hypocrites as well.
All right. Well, we've got to leave it there. We'll be back on Thursday to talk about what happens in Washington and the rest of the day's political news. For now, I'm Tom Bevan, co-founder and president of RealClearPolitics.
And I'm Carl Cannon, Washington bureau chief for Real Clear Politics. And this has been the RCP takeaway for Tuesday, Election Day, January 5th, 2021.